Coming Down is proudly sponsored by Colorado Ganja Gear, high-quality, artistically inspired herb grinders. So let me tell you, these things are great. I actually own one. My favorite part is the perfect consistency you get after grinding. Some grinders just pulverize your herb into dust, but the razor-sharp teeth and smooth action on these always leave you with perfect, fluffy, evenly ground herb. The craftsmanship is top-notch, made from aircraft-grade aluminum to guarantee you won't get metal shavings mixed into your herb. But the best part, truly, is each grinder features original artwork created by Colorado artist Lori Beatty. She creates unique mandalas that are laser-etched into each magnetic lid. And each grinder comes in a silk bag and has free shipping. So just go to etsy.com/shop/Colorado Ganja Gear and enter the code Coming Down in all caps for $5 off, or go to the show notes for this episode and follow the link. Thanks and enjoy the episode.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to Coming Down. This is Matthew. I'm joined here by my co-host Nathan.
Well, hello.
Wow.
Wow.
I can't believe that this is the story that we're running right now. Like,
it's come to this.
Yep.
After all these silly little one-off stories, it's time to get into the heart of it all.
I won't say that I was like trying to avoid this one. It's just that I never felt like I was ready for it.
Yeah.
And I've never told all of this as one continuous narrative. It's always just kind of been in pieces here and there. So
yeah. Well, there's a lot going on here, and I guess, we can tell the listener, buckle in, because this is going to be, I believe, a 3-parter.
Yeah.
So if you don't like what happens this episode, it's going to keep happening for a couple weeks.
Yeah, we had never really planned on the, super long format, but that's just kind of what this turned into.
Yeah, it just made sense once you got going on it. There's a lot of story to tell here, and the hilarious part is as you'll hear, there are several times where we sort of just put pins in it. It's like, well, we'll just save that little side story for a whole episode on its own, because there's one overarching narrative here that I found it super compelling and super interesting. This was cool because we have been buddies for a while, and I feel like we're pretty close friends, but
absolutely,
I had never gotten, and I keep calling it the origin story, and I'm just going to keep calling it that. But it really is. It's like, it's your Iron Man 1. It's the, when you get lost in the desert for a few days and build the suit and fucking figure out what you're made of.
I mean, if my life was a hero's journey narrative, then this is definitely the crucible in which the fucking sort of my intellect was forged.
Yeah, totally. And and that's cool. I think everyone has one to a certain extent. You carve out a certain chunk of your youth, and it's like, these were the formative days. These were the experiences that really shaped everything to come, and you could never prepare yourself for what led up to this sort of this stuff here. So
yeah, and it's funny because this all just kind of started as me wanting to tell a story about the day that I ate all of the mushrooms, and I just realized that I couldn't tell that story without telling some of the backstory, and the backstory turned into the backstory on the backstory, and then I realized I was just going to have to talk about all the rainbow gatherings, and you can't talk about all the rainbow gatherings without kind of just stitching it all together, because as listeners will find out, it all just kind of ends up being one big fucking roller coaster.
There's a couple major through lines that sort of tie all this stuff together, and I found it completely fascinating. It really informed a lot of who you are and who you are today. It's wild. But I hope the listeners like it, because this is definitely getting into the meat of kind of who we are as people, and not just sort of oh, here's an anecdote of my history. It's like, this is who I am.
Right. This is some shit that happened to me,
Yeah.
And some shit that I did,
Yep, totally. And, we've had guests on get pretty deeply personal, and you get pretty personal here too, so it's pretty cool.
For sure.
It's definitely the time to start opening up a little bit, and it inspired me to also sort of find my origin story, which we're in the process of recording. So,
oh my god, I can't wait to get back to that.
So that will probably turn into some lengthy multi-episode thing when we finally get that all fleshed out.
Hell yeah.
But anyway, I think that's that's sort of what you're all in for.
Yeah, that's the introduction for sure.
Yep.
You got anything that you want to talk about from your week?
Oh gosh, it was a regular old week, man.
Yeah.
I had a 3-day weekend and didn't do much of anything particularly exciting. Drank my way through a bit of it.
Fair enough.
I don't have anything exciting to report. Just been dude, once again, so look, this is the last time you're going to hear like my empty promises about merch, but but the buttons will be in this week. Look in your inbox for an email. I'm going to send those out probably at the end of this week to get addresses, and we'll start shipping out next week. So y'all get that stuff, and you can stop hearing me like swear up and down that like it's coming. Like you're gonna get merch,
right?
But yeah, it's coming. It's all looking so good.
Oh yeah,
so thrilled.
Oh my god, like we're sitting here with our beers on coming down coasters right
Indeed.
now, and it just looks so good.
Yep. That logo is just popping up everywhere now. So yeah. But yeah, I don't have anything really to report or any interesting factoids from the week or much of anything.
Yeah. There's so much to this. We might as well just get to it. No,
I think so.
No one wants to hear about my week anyway.
Yeah.
So,
speaking of patrons, we missed a shout out last week.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah. Heather Cyrus, thank you so much.
Yeah. Sorry for missing your shout out on time there, but yeah, really appreciate you chipping in.
We also had a patron upgrade their tier to $6.66.
Right, which is a class move, dude.
Yeah.
Love that.
Well fucking played.
So yeah, Bugnosis, you're the man. And you know who you are. Thank you so much. You were we weren't even really sure we were going to do a Patreon, and I had shared our early stuff before we even started releasing. I sort of shared some stuff with this person, and they reported back that they had just like burned through all the episodes and were just like, I want more, I love this, and like, if you started a thing, like I'd chip $1 or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, like hell, if people are willing to do it, like let's do it. So thank you for driving us to do that. It's really helping out that we don't have to pay for our hosting and stuff. Just makes this thing so much more stress-free because, look, you all know we just work jobs and stuff. This isn't like our job or our career. So,
oh God, right?
We fit this in where we can, which is why we're slow on the merch, which is why we're slow on everything. And yeah.
Thank you for your patience with us, and thank you so much for your support. We cannot tell you how much we appreciate it.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible. I never thought in a million years that all these people would come out of the woodwork and toss us some bucks for doing this.
It's pretty rad.
For getting drunk and telling stories to each other. Like, God, you just can't ask for a better support system. So,
oh yeah, so great.
Yeah.
I guess without any further ado, check us out on comingdownpod.com. You'll also find links to our Patreon there, or you can just go straight to patreon.com/comingdownpod. We've got all of our merch set on tiers there, so if you find anything that you like, hit it up. We're also going to have the store online, as Nathan said, very shortly. So
totally. I'm sure I'll procrastinate about that as I do everything, but one of my goals for this weekend is to maybe get some pictures and start setting up that web store. So if you don't want to do the Patreon, that's totally cool. You can just do a one-off and like get a shirt or some buttons or some stickers or whatever. So
hell yeah. And if you want to hit us up on Twitter, it's @comingdownpod. If you'd like to be on the show, or you can also email us, comingdownpod@gmail.com. You can find us on Spotify, Google Play, YouTube, iTunes, and if you'd like to give us a rate and review, please hit us up on Stitcher.
Hell yeah.
Thank you so much, everybody. Let's go! Pretty much anybody who knows me well knows that I used to have long hair and wear tie-dye and listen to reggae and the Grateful Dead, and there was a time in my life when I went to rainbow gatherings.
See, and I love this because as long as I've known you, you've been dapper Matthew not listening to Grateful Dead.
Yeah.
Or, maybe in your own time or whatever, but yeah.
Not really. I still occasionally will bust out Uncle John's Band or,
Sure.
something else off Working Man's Dead, but...
Yeah.
Yeah. Perfectly honest, I don't listen to as much music as I used to,
Yeah. It happens when you get older, too.
I'm either watching TV or playing games or...
Yeah.
Anyway, but
no,
yeah.
So, yeah, it's just funny. I love hearing all these old stories and even seeing the old pictures. Because as long as I've known you, you have not been that person.
For real. Yeah, and it's funny, too, because there was a moment... right before I met you, where I got my first real bartending job, and that's when I cut all my hair off because I'd actually grown it out again when I realized that my temples were receding. Because I was like, this might be the last chance that I have to have long hair.
Yeah,
and so I grew it all out, grew this fucking big old beard, and was just this big, long blonde-haired beardo for a little while, and then I got a job at Nona tending bar, and they let me know that they were looking for a more clean-cut look, and that was pretty much the only hiccup to my hiring process, and I said that shouldn't be a problem, so I went into Modern Man, and they sheared me like a sheep.
Yep.
And it was really funny because I got into the chair, and the guy was like, hey, man, just to let you know, we don't really cut long hair. And I was like...
What?
Oh, well, I'm not looking for a trim. I really need a 3/4 inch fade. And he was like, oh shit. Oh, okay, man. You just want to cut it all off? And I'm like, yeah, maybe not necessarily a fade, but I need it real clean cut. I just got a new job.
I see. Oh, so they were like, we don't really style long hair.
He thought that I was just some fucking weirdo hipster fucking beardo, long hair, who's like, I'm gonna go to Modern Man and get a haircut.
Dude, yeah, it's if you need your nappy bullshit trimmed up, you can fucking supercuts that shit.
And I'm like, no, dude, I want the back of my neck lined up, I want the straight razor shave.
Look good.
Yeah, and he was like, all right, let's do it. And it was really kind of cute because he got close to the end where he was gonna just do the straight razor shave, and he's like, man, your face looks a lot. I can't remember exactly what he said, but he was just you look, basically saying you look really good with short hair.
Yeah.
And right then the other barber at the other chair walks up. He's like, wow, that looks really clean, man.
You clean up nice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm just cool. Well, I will never again go fucking shaggy because this feels really good right now. So yeah. Anyway, that's why that was the last time that I was a fucking hippie wild man. But way back in the day, God, this must have been 97. I just finished a court case that I'm going to actually talk about in another episode.
All right,
so
all right.
We'll leave that one alone. But
pin in that.
Yeah, but I'd lost the court case, and so my mom was like, are you depressed? Are you okay? And I was like, I don't really know what I'm going to do, but there's a rainbow gathering up in the Wallowas, so I figured I'd go check that out. And she was like, all right.
What mountains?
So the Wallowa Mountains.
Wallowas?
Oh, buddy.
Okay. Where are the Wallowas?
Wallowa. I believe it's Native American, but someone's probably going to yell at me if it's not, and they're right if they do.
Yeah, right, yeah.
But they are commonly referred to as the Oregon Alps.
Oh.
And god damn it, you and me are going camping out there.
Okay, yeah. How do I not even know about this range or this area?
Fucking spectacular.
Cool.
I can't say enough good things about this range of mountains. It's
where is it?
Northeastern Oregon. I don't remember the name of the town that's closest to it, but
But just if you head out 84, past the Dalles, before you get to Idaho.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll figure it out.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a few hours from Bend.
Sure.
And but not, or maybe not even a few hours, but like an hour plus. Memory does not serve how long that drive is, but it's a gorgeous drive. You drive through the high desert, and it slowly turns into prairie, and then mountains.
Yeah.
And oh my fucking god! So me and my buddy Doug pile into what was referred to as the urban assault vehicle. It was a pickup that was so heavily damaged that you could pretty much run it into anything and you would never notice. It had
just beater for the ages.
Yeah, I mean, like, it had a canopy on it that was so rotted out that the sheet metal surrounding the wood was the only thing holding it all together, and it would slide like inches around the posts that were holding it in. Like, if you took a really hard turn, you could see the canopy shift, you know? It was just like, fuck, this thing is barely holding together. But it did. It held together. And I drove the fuck out of that thing. And it was a company truck. I was not supposed to use it for personal means, but who gives a fuck? It was the urban assault vehicle.
It was a company truck?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Dad. So, yeah, we drove the urban assault vehicle out to the Wallawas, and we didn't really know where to go. It was me and my buddy Doug, and we started driving in the afternoon, and by the time we got out there, it was dusk, and we'd just kind of been told to, like, take these Forest Service roads up into the mountains, and that we would eventually figure it out.
Okay, to find this rainbow gathering?
Yeah. Great directions. And so we get out there, and we're on this Forest Service road, and we think we're basically heading in the right direction because we're going up, and it's the only real road that's going up into the national forest. But there are other turnouts to, like, sightseeing locations and campgrounds and stuff, so we're just kind of like, I'm not sure where it is, and then we see a fucking hippie bus on the side of the road. And we're like, okay, let's stop and find out what's going on. We're like, hey, how are you guys doing? And they're like, oh, hey, we're just kind of broke down here right now. We're just waiting for somebody to come along and help get us going again. And we're like, well, are you guys okay? Do you need anything? And they're like, oh, yeah, we're fine. We got somebody coming to help us out. And we're like, okay, cool. Do you guys know how to get to the rainbow gathering? And they start laughing.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay. And they're like, I mean, you're on the right road. Just keep going. And we're like, okay, cool. And so we keep going. And then we, like, come up, and there's, like, another car ahead of us. And we're like, okay, well, we must be on the right road because there's another car. And it's late at night in the forest, so eventually it turns into kind of a line of cars, and then we're just in this part of the forest where there's a bunch of cars parked all along the road on the sides, and we're like, oh shit, and like all the cars in front of us kind of start turning off, and like we pull a little further in, and some guy's like, hey, where are you going? And we're like, oh, we're just looking for a place to park. And he's like, if you want to give me a couple bucks, I'll find you a spot. And Doug kind of looks at me, and I look at him, and I'm like, oh, I think I see a spot right over there. Thanks anyway. And
yeah.
The guy's just kind of like, what the fuck? And I'm like, yeah, I don't think he's a parking lot attendant. Doug's like, me neither. Guy was really dirty. And
oh, yeah.
So just had a real sketchy vibe about him. And so we park, we smoke a big fat bowl, and we're sitting like just where we chose to park. Turns out it was like butted right up on this cliff face, and there's this beautiful like basalt cliff looking out over this mountain valley. And I don't remember, I think like one of us laughed kind of loud or like said something kind of loud. We heard an echo. And we realized that we were in a perfect echo spot. So we start fucking with the echo. And
nice.
like, this is in 97, so, oh no, actually, what's the movie with Robin Williams with the boys' school?
Like Dead Poets Society?
Dead Poets Society. So Dead Poets Society is actually kind of old at this time. It's like 6 or 7 years old.
Yeah.
But we still remembered the mighty yawp.
Oh, yeah.
And so we started fucking yapping off of this cliff.
Yeah.
And hearing the echoes and shit. And I don't know, it was just kind of set this tone of like, we're out in fucking nature having an adventure and becoming men right now, you know? And
yeah.
like,
well, and so 97, so you would have been just like 18, right? Like 18,
yeah.
19, like freshly.
I was 18, yeah.
Yeah.
Freshly minted.
Yep.
So yeah,
and what was y'all's plan? Were you were gonna go out there, like you had camping gear, you were gonna stay for a couple days, or were you just like,
I don't know that we brought camping gear.
you just were like, let's just roll out there?
I'm like, I know that we had some kind of a plan. I'm not really sure what that was.
Maybe
I don't remember
maybe
Ted's,
sleeping under your shifty canopy.
Like, I don't even think we went back to the truck that night. In fact, we didn't. So
I mean,
anyway,
I guess you also probably knew you were just going to get into some, like, drug shit, right?
Yeah, I mean, we just kind of figured we were going to go out there and get weird, you know?
Yeah.
And so, like, we were just ready for whatever. And it didn't turn out to be as, like, crazy as we thought it was going to be because...
Yeah.
In actuality, when we got there, is a part of the gathering called Seed Camp, which is where there's a group of really generous individuals who want to donate their time to kind of developing the infrastructure for what will become the Rainbow Gathering.
Uh-huh.
And so they're just kind of coming out there early and setting up kitchens, blazing trails, like tapping springs.
Yeah.
Essentially setting up a place that will be ready for 20 or 30,000 people to come and camp out for a week.
Oh, and so you got in on, like, ground zero. This was, like, the first kind of wave showing up here?
Like, maybe the second or third wave. Because there's definitely, you know, a gradual build-up.
And that seed camp was established and all that stuff.
Because there was definitely already kitchens out there. You know, there was a parking lot. You know, like, there were already people camped out and dug in and been there for a while. But, you know, it wasn't more than like a few weeks to a month for even the people who'd been there the longest. You know, it was...
Now, I'm tertiary familiar with rainbow gatherings, but for the listener at home, how long do gatherings usually last?
So this is a great question, and it varies. People can show up on site as early as weather will allow.
Sure.
And they'll stay there as long as legality and weather will allow. As well as interest, but
right. So, are we talking a month?
Sometimes
2 months.
Yeah, like for example, you know, we're going to get to this in the story, but when I was in Arizona, I was there for a month, and that wasn't by any means like a huge amount of time. It was It was hardcore. You know, I wasn't a weekend warrior, and I wasn't like the folks who were just showing up for the week of the 4th of July or whatever, but. You know, a month is by no means like super duper fucking deep cuts rainbow. You know, like
okay.
That's it's better than a tourist, but by no means dyed in the wool. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know, we showed up like I want to say it was like 2 weeks before the 4th of July, which is the peak. The peak is always on the 4th.
Okay.
And. You know, we fucked around and got into the gathering. And I think the first kitchen that we found was Jaw Love. And there was just some people hanging out and smoking weed and eating food. And we were like, this is cool. And so we wandered around for a while. And we found some other kitchens. And
the kitchens are kind of like gathering points.
Yeah, it's like there's just a multitude of people camped out in one place, and they're all kind of committed to keeping a fire going and you know, kind of always having like hot water and other stuff on hand.
Cool.
And cooking a certain number of meals per day, like whatever their planned setup was for, as well as, you know, maybe even taking on some more if the central food bank ends up with a bunch of extra stuff. They might ask a kitchen to like cook some more food for like the main meal of the day or whatever. I'm not really sure how the infrastructure goes, but I spent a decent amount of time in kitchens, so I saw kind of how some of it goes down.
Cool.
Yeah, and so the kitchens end up being the wide spots in the trail. Like, you know, you'll just kind of like take a trail off from some place and like say, let's see where this fucking goes, you know? And like you wander around for a while, you see a campfire through the trees, you head down there. It might just be some little spot where there's some people hanging out. It might be a big place where there's like multiple campfires and like cook fires and you know, big awnings and like little rock walls and shit that people have set up, you know, like it gets all fucking nature of hippie family Robinson out there.
Like, for sure.
People get real elaborate with their setups sometimes. It's fucking impressive. But that first night we didn't really see that much, you know, like we kind of like trolled around and like saw some shit and we're like, wow, this is really a lot more intense and elaborate than I thought. And we ended up back at Jaw Love because that was where people were tripping and like staying up all night. We didn't like eat any psychedelics or anything, but we were just kind of sitting at the campfire and like sharing the family bowl and like, you know, packing some ourselves and swapping stories and like, oh fuck, I wish I could remember this dude's name. He's like some rainbow elder and like had no idea who he was that first night, but like later on found out that he's sort of a mildly big deal and like has this real like foghorn leghorn voice. And like at one point, and I'm pretty sure he was tripping that night too, and at one point like somebody cut a fart and like everybody fucking laughed and like you know, somebody said something rude and then like somebody else fucking farted and like you know, it just turned into a real fucking slapstick moment.
Like a fucking Blazing Saddles.
Yeah, exactly. And like Foghorn Leghorn Elder Dude is just like, it's fucking gnarly dude hour here at Jaw Love.
Nice.
Like, it's like, you know what? This is like not crazy at all. It's just fucking rad and like just weird enough that like I want to do this more, you know? And so like I don't remember how much more we hung out the next day. Like I know that we ran around a bunch and like checked out a bunch of kitchens and ate some food and like cut a bunch of firewood and like brought it to kitchens and
well, because that's the idea, right? Like, people feed you, but, you know, you help out the camp, you help out the kitchen or whatever, right? Yeah.
And it's you know, it's this whole, like, really bone simple barter process where it's like, yeah, we'll give you some free shit, but, I mean, hey, you want to help us haul some water or, like, you know, do you want to help us peel garlic or fucking serve food at the main circle? I mean, there's an infinite number of jobs to be done. And whoever's leading the kitchen will figure out what needs to be done the most and what you seem to be likely to be able to pull off, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And so the people who run the kitchens, though, how are they funding it?
So there's like a central like food bank kind of where people make donations and they'll also go into various communities and just try to get shit from food banks and you know, whatever various places that they can get cheap stuff from, and it ends up being this collective effort. And there's super rich hippies from like the Bay Area and New York who will just like make cash donations or like buy a bunch of shit and bring it out there. Like you know, there's definitely some major backers who are like helping this thing proceed, but I mean it's still all just whatever you got kind of donation status. Man,
that's so cool. I mean, I've heard like, without just like jumping the gun here, surface level, man, the Rainbow Gatherings just sounds so tight, but I've heard so many dark stories too.
It's kind of dark underbelly, like any kind of a gathering of a lot of people and drugs will have, you know? But if I want, you know, like just on a nuts and bolts level, it's really kind of spectacular that any of it works at all. You know?
No, and I mean, it's impressive that a bunch of humans can just agree to like go out to the woods and like take care of each other. And it's like, it's weird. It's like, it's not even that impressive because that's kind of like what we've been good at forever.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
But just like the world we live in now, like it is impressive because it's just like, I don't have faith in anyone to fucking take care of each other.
Oh, so. Absolutely. Well, and I mean, we definitely got to give credit where credit is due. Like the Rainbow Gathering has a number of highly skilled and talented scouts who understand how the woods work and like what environments are capable of supporting that population, and being able to bounce back from it as well. And that's not to say that mistakes have not been made.
Of course, I mean,
everything is council based, and everyone has an equal voice, hopefully, on the council. And so,
and there is like a high council.
Absolutely, yeah. There's
the elder hippies that fucking run the show and make the decisions.
Yeah, and I mean, it's all completely wide open. Like anybody can fucking walk in and have a voice at any council meeting. Mm. But there are people who have eagle feathers, and I don't know who decides who gets those.
Yes, I heard about the eagle feathers. Yeah. Okay, yep, totally.
I don't honestly know how you become a rainbow elder beyond just like being accepted by the circle of elders,
right?
But I honestly never really gave a shit either.
Best your own father in a fucking.
You gotta fucking choke David out with his own dreadlocks.
Totally.
And rainbows will know who I mean when I say David. But yeah, so back to me and Doug. Like we ended up at Jaw Love, and the next day, we ran around for a while, and I want to say that it was just kind of like a day and a night and then another day and then we went back. Mm. There might have been 2 nights, but I really doubt it. I feel like we just kind of went and checked it out and we were like, let's go back and tell everybody how rad it is and like see how many people we can get back out here.
Yeah.
So we went back into town and, we were like, guys, fucking check out all of these weird fucking stories that we have about like these springs that they've tapped with PVC pipes and have running water out in the woods, and like all these fucking kitchens that are serving dope food that they're just fucking cooking over campfires, and like drugs everywhere, but like we weren't necessarily on them because we didn't really feel like asking anybody for anything, but everybody was fucked up.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And Phil the Family Bull was definitely a story. I think I might have mentioned that name before, but so Phil the Family Bull was this phenomenon that we encountered our first night out there at the gathering, and that's where somebody's walking around and going, hey man, I'm looking for a plumber. And you're
plug
like,
a hole.
Yeah, I got a hole in my pipe and I need someone to fix it. And we're like, I got nuggets. Oh, cool. Well, tell you what, man, like, let's fill the family bowl. And like, this is Phil. He's the family bull. And like,
yep.
And, we fucking smoked a lot of weed that way. And so, we hung out. We got our friends to come back out the next weekend. And like, I want to say that it was not the 4th of July. It was like the 3rd. If memory serves. And there was an electric Kool-Aid acid test that night.
And
this was at a kitchen that was down the hill from Jaw Love. I don't remember which kitchen it was.
Like trying to recreate the...
So let's start at the beginning.
Like, God damn it, who wrote that book?
Ken Kesey.
Yeah, Kesey.
Oh, no. Thomas Wolfe wrote the book.
Oh, yeah.
But it was about Ken Kesey.
Right. Yeah. Totally.
And about the acid tests that they had in the 60s.
Right.
So we're hanging out at this kitchen. They asked me to peel garlic. And didn't give me any tools.
Wait, I'm sorry. I zoned out for a second. This is when you went back?
Yeah. So
okay.
we went back for like a week. Like, we're in bed. And like, our intention had been to just go the fuck back out to the gathering. But like... stuff happened. I decided I needed to work for like a week and like make some money.
Sure.
Or maybe I was supposed to work and I was planning on quitting. I don't remember what the deal was. But yeah. We came back. We made some money. We made a plan. We got some people together. We went back out. And the first day that we're out there, like I went down to this kitchen that I thought was cool and was just like, what do you need? And they were like, we need somebody to peel garlic. And so I'm peeling all this garlic by hand.
Yeah.
You know, I think they might have given me like a really dull kitchen knife to like smash all the cloves with.
Yeah.
But I'm still just getting all the skins off with my fucking fingers. And so eventually, after, you know, like a dozen fucking heads of garlic,
yeah,
my hands are fucking sticky and just like kind of coated in the fucking paper, you know, like I just can't get it off. And then this fucking like just jolly fucking woman comes into the kitchen. She's like, I don't know, I mean, I'm not trying to like be sizist, but like she's round, you know, and she's brown and she's fucking just full of joy and like not wearing a stitch of clothes. And
nice.
That's right. No, she was a member of a group of naked people who were all really high on LSD. And they were just walking around. Some of them were carrying belongings. Others were just completely naked and adrift. And this one woman who was the first to come into the kitchen was carrying nothing but an enormous freezer bag full of fucking nuggets. And in her other hand, she had a big hammer pipe. Like a huge glass piece. And she was just like, who wants to get high? And like the whole kitchen was like, fuck yeah. And like, you know, she's just packing bowl after bowl. And like every time it would come around to me, I would like just show them my hands. And they would be like, oh bro, do you want me to light that for you? I'm like, honestly, you're going to have to do everything
just
for
like
me.
Hold it up to you.
But like, I really want to hit that. And they'd be like, oh dude, I got you. And then like, the second or third time that happened, it was actually the woman who had like brought the weed and the pipe, and she was tripping her fucking face off and like trying to figure out how to put the pipe in my mouth and light it for me, just laughing her ass off because it was so hard for her to do. Oh, it was perfect.
Hell yeah.
And like we got so high that like I didn't really remember how much time was passing, and then there's just like this naked guy on LSD who's been there for a while. And I don't really remember what he'd been talking about, but I just kind of like look up from the garlic that I'd been peeling, and he like meets my gaze, and he's like, you know, it all just comes back to my penis. And like all of the women in the kitchen look up at him, and they're like, dude, enough. And I realized that he had been kind of like just tripping out on his wiener for a little while. And like that's when the lady who was like kind of like leading the group of fucking naked trippers was like, hey man, you gotta get out of here. In fact, like we all gotta get out of here. Let's go. Thanks you guys. And I'm like just took off, and I'm like, oh man, that was a fucking trip. And like, you know, finish up what I'm doing. I wash my hands off. We go and we feed the main circle. Like every night at there's like a main meadow that has like a big pole in the center that's got various things that people have put on it for like prayers and stuff. Like that's the meadow where everyone meditates for world peace on the 4th of July. But every night before the 4th, and I imagine for some nights after, everyone meets up there for the main meal. And like almost every kitchen, not necessarily every kitchen, but most of the kitchens prepare something simple that they can haul down there, like in big containers. You know, some people just like fill a cooler with like chili, and like they've got a ladle and they're just scooping it out, you know, and like But the crazy thing about that is it sounds sketchy, but like everyone has like the 3-bucket system with the hot soapy water, the cold rinse, and bleach water. Like, there's actual like real sanitation happening out in the woods.
Well, you have to.
Absolutely.
Like, you can't fuck around with that shit and just like poison an entire camp.
For real.
Like food poison an entire camp. Like,
right.
There's
And so like this shit is like really going down in a fucking legit way. And so like, you know, me and Doug are down there fucking serving the main circle, and like, you know,
that's cool.
We finish up with that and we go back to the kitchen, and like we're, you know, just like helping wash dishes and stuff, and like eating some of the leftovers. And then we find out that there's some electric cooling acid test happening in the meadow next to the kitchen. And we're like, exactly what does that mean, and how do I get involved? And they're like, well, I'm not sure if it's really what you bros want to do, but like there's been a big fucking like 4-gallon igloo dispenser that people have just been throwing drugs into all day. There's peyote, there's Molly,
Whoa.
there's tons of LSD, you know, like,
Whoa.
it's just a grab bag.
Just a king's cup of fucking psychedelics.
Yes. And they're like,
Damn.
so I'm not sure if that's what you want to do, but like, you should go hang out with those folks over in the meadow if that's what you're into. And so we're like, all right, cool. And they're like, all right, Kool-Aid's ready. Everybody line up and get your cups out. And like, so they're just going down the line, like gooshing this fucking shit out of this drink dispenser into people's cups. And, you know, we're standing there and like, it gets all the way down to the person who's right next to me. And then it's gone.
Oh, shit.
Right? And so I'm just standing there looking at Doug going like, fuck, man. Guess we're the sober ones at the gathering tonight. And
right.
He's just like, fuck. Oh, I really wanted to get weird. And I'm like, yeah, me too. But who knows? You know, maybe we'll fucking find something else. And the crazy thing, too, was that, like, at first we thought that we were, like, getting these contact visuals, you know, like, because we were just hanging out and like the sky starts turning purple at night, and we're like, what the fuck is that? And then these sheets of heat lightning start fucking shooting across the sky, and we're just like, what in the fuck? And you know, like everyone, like, you know, the hair starts sticking up because of the fucking weird ions, and we're like, fuck it, dude, we're high. I mean, maybe, kind of, who knows? Like, this is awesome though. And so we're just running around fucking having a great time with fucking lightning shooting across the sky and all these fucking drum circles. And
I mean, like, so yeah, I mean, after years of psychedelic use, and maybe even not due to that, but I definitely will get I don't know what to call it. Like, if people around me are on drugs but I'm not, I can totally just get on that wavelength.
Yeah, me too.
It's really not hard to just jump right onto that. And
I've done it quite a number of times.
Yeah, and it's just like, next thing you know, like, you're hallucinating, you're tripping, you're feeling it.
I'm at the very least euphoric. You know?
Yeah, at the very least,
And so, you know, like, we were having a great time, and at some point, Doug and I got separated. I don't remember if he was like, I'm going to go check something out, or if I was like just wandering off. But like, at some point I ended up back at Tea Time, which was like one of our favorite spots to end up. It was just this little tea house, and it was ostensibly a kitchen, but all that they ever did was make tea and what they referred to as bean tea, which was coffee. And you know, it was, and like Tea Time actually has
bean
this,
water,
right? Tea Time actually has this great history. It's one of the weirdest kitchens at the gathering, and has kind of infamous notoriety. But that's neither here nor there. I ended up back at Tea Time, and I'm sitting across the campfire from this girl and this guy, and like some other folks are sitting on my side, and like another guy is sitting on my other side. And I don't remember how we got there. But, oh, that's right. Earlier in the day, I had been up on this hillside trying to think of how I could explain everything to my roommate. Because, you know, he's a little square. And I'm like, fuck, you know, like, how do I explain about, like, these people here and, like, what they're doing? And I just realized that these guys are basically the Rebel Alliance. Just a fucking ragtag bunch of fucking weirdos.
Yeah.
We're out here making it work and, like, doing shit that should be impossible. And here's the fucking Empire, like, the fucking, you know, the feds and the fucking cops.
Everyone just wants to shut this thing down.
Yeah, just trying to fucking kill this good time. And I'm like, oh, that's actually deeper than I think I understand that it is right now. Yeah. And so I'm sitting here at this campfire, and I don't remember how the conversation got there, but I just decided to fucking float that idea out there. And this woman is just like, holy fucking shit, no, that's exactly right. Also, I'm obsessed with Star Wars, and like, let's fucking talk about this some more. And like, you know, it's just one of those conversations where like, little tiny things keep popping up that like make you think of something else, and it's like, you know, Jung called it synchronicity. Like, you know, it's all the stuff that you've been thinking about just keeps popping up, and it's like you don't even have to say anything because the other person is telling you your own ideas.
Yeah, y'all are just on a level.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's people coming into the conversation who are, like, fucking getting wrapped up into it and then, like, moving on. But we're, like, just continuing the thread. And there were also a couple of moments that were kind of, like, fucking, whoa, where the fuck did that come from? You know, but, like...
Sure.
So it comes out in our conversation that she's fucking high as fuck. And, she was in on the electric Kool-Aid acid test. Oh. And I'm like, oh, that's crazy. I was like the first person who didn't get any. And she's like, oh, I was the last person who got some. I'm like, whoa. Well, that's crazy. We were standing right next to each other in the line. She's like, that is crazy. Cool. And so, like, we just keep talking. And, like, at some point, we started talking about, like, Ernie's Imagination song or, like, some kind of Sesame Street shit that we really bonded over. And, like, we sang the whole song. And, like, you know, it was fucking cute and sweet. And, like, eventually she's just like, dude, can I, like, write you a letter or something like that? I don't remember. Or no, that's right. It was email. Like, email was still pretty new back then.
Yeah,
but, like, she was like, do you have an email address? And I was like, no, but I've been thinking about getting one.
Yeah,
and she's
I can
like,
start one.
Yeah, and she's like, well, cool, man, because I would like to, like, fucking send you an email or something. Like, let's talk about this some more. And, like, so she gave me her email address, and as we were walking away from the campfire, I found a little plastic Bert laying in the fucking dust on the trail, and I'm like, oh shit. Just another fucking piece of synchronicity here. She's just like,
yeah.
Oh my god! Like,
yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it was to prove to be a continuing series, but anyway, so that was essentially like, I think that was the night before the 4th, and I don't remember if we just didn't know about the 4th or like if we just hung out for the. I don't know. I'm pretty sure we missed the fucking meditation on the 4th, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
And like we just didn't get high for it, and or something. But like, I swear to God, like we hung out for the electric Kool-Aid acid test on the 3rd, and I'm pretty sure we just went home the morning of the 4th.
Okay. Sure.
I didn't find out about the meditation for world peace and like the massive Om until we went to Arizona.
God, see, it's so funny. So again, tertiary knowledge. Like I had actually like Brett, former guest on the show and creator of our theme music.
Right.
I know he went to a rainbow gathering and told me a bunch about it. I had another buddy, Phil, who went to all the gatherings, and he told me a bunch about it. So I know a lot about this, and I remember hearing about the like 4th of July like meditations and the like big Oms and all that stuff. So it's funny, like you telling me all this, it's like it's flooding back to me even though I never went to one. I'm like, oh yeah, man, I definitely heard about all this. Like I know what you're talking about, like in the loosest sense of the word. So
right. So yeah, Doug and I go back to Bend, and I'm pretty sure I got fired. Like I'm 90% certain that I got fired over driving the fucking work truck to the gathering and not working.
Yeah.
That's what happened. And so I was like, fuck it, I don't care. And just kind of like Doug, the place where Doug and I were living, I'm pretty sure it was $250 a month.
Nice.
And so it was just kind of like, can I pay you back at some point? And Doug was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure you can owe me a couple $100 and it's not going to be a big deal. And so I just kind of floated for a little while, and then my mom and dad switched to a new database system for their home building business, and they couldn't figure out how to get someone to do data entry for a reasonable price. And so they were like, hey, you're not doing anything.
So rehired.
Yeah. Do you want to just do data entry for basically nothing? And I was like, can I listen to headphones and not have to interact with anyone in your office? And they were like, of course. And so, I mean, I'm pretty sure that they knew that I was fucking off a certain percentage of the time, because no one could be expected to just plug in numbers for 8 hours a day and not lose their goddamn minds.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm pretty sure they became aware that I was milking it after a certain point even. But, like, I didn't milk it that hard. Certainly not any harder than any other corporate wage slave. So,
sure.
And in fact, I'm pretty sure I got it done faster than they would have gotten it done from some regular fucking data entry bullshit. Or at least that's my position, and I'm sticking to it. I'm sorry, Mom and Dad. So yeah, I got a job, and it happened to be on a computer, and so, you know, like, I would email the woman that I was hanging out with at the gathering, whose name is Jessica. And, you know, we traded emails for a little while, and she asked me for my address so that she could send me a mixtape and, like, some other stuff. And she sent me this, like, little tea tin with, like, a joint and a tea bag in it. And she wanted me to make some tea and smoke this joint and listen to this tape.
Nice.
Like, fuck,
damn,
yeah,
hell yeah,
dude. And, like, she sent me this rad book, and, like, I'm just like, dude, I'm so fucking in for this. And the book is called Child of Fortune. I highly recommend it to anyone who enjoys this podcast.
All right.
I'm going to make you read it eventually.
Yeah, I mean, I'll put it on my list.
And in fact, I believe I've mentioned it at some point when I was talking about the book with a psychedelic forest that uses trippers as pollinators.
Okay, nice.
So, yeah, that's in there.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so, you know, like, just really kind of, like, spun my brain around and, like, showed me that there's some stuff out there that maybe I wasn't aware of. And, like, you know, she knew about Terrence and, like, Esalen and, like, all this cool shit, and was like, hey, you know, what are you doing for the Arizona gathering? And I'm like, fucking don't know.
Coming to hang out with you, because, like...
Right? And so she was like, do you want to go hang out in Yosemite for, like, a week before the gathering? And I was like, yeah, that sounds great. And
how old was she?
I don't think I knew at the time, but it turns out she was 24, and I was 19.
Right.
Wait, was I 19?
Well, yeah, and I think we had established you were 18 or 19.
Yeah, okay, yeah, so I was 18 at the gathering, and by the time we fast forwarded to the next year, I was 19. So yeah, this all fits. And so, you know, I was like, well, yeah, of course I want to fucking hang out in Yosemite before the gathering. But I was still such a fucking noob that, like, I wasn't really putting all the pieces together. I was like, yeah, let's go hang out in Yosemite, and then we'll go to the gathering. And that is not what she meant. She just wanted to go spend a week in Yosemite at some point before the gathering. And, like, so I think it was in May, and there was still, like, snow in Yosemite. But yeah, I quit my job, and I was like, Doug, I'm going to move out, and I know that you're moving out in, like, a month or two. What do you think about just moving my shit out for me? Because I didn't figure out how to do that. You're welcome to borrow any of my CDs or, like whatever you want. Like, I don't really care. And that was a bad idea on my part. And I'm really thankful that Doug didn't ruin more of my shit than he did.
Yeah.
He didn't really ruin that much. My CDs definitely took a beating, and he lost some fairly important videotape. But, you know, it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so, you know, I fucking just bailed on my life and went down to Yosemite and camped out for, like, a week. And I had this...
and to be clear, this is definitely, like, for this girl, right?
100%. I mean, like...
You're just, like, head over here.
Yeah, we've been writing letters to each other, and, like... You know, none of it was too overt, but it was obvious that we had a connection, and that... I mean, who the fuck writes letters to each other, you know? Like,
yeah, right.
Even in that day and age.
Yeah.
So, and like, all of my friends were kind of like, this is actually kind of weird, but it's also totally awesome.
Yeah,
so,
like I think you got something real here.
Yeah,
So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm not going to do this.
Yeah.
And but like I said, I was 19 and like none of this was planned out. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't honestly know when the gathering started, or I'd been to one gathering for like a few days. And I was just kind of like casting my lot to the wind, just like, fuck it, let's see what happens, And so I land in Folsom, California, at Jessica's place where she's staying, which is with her mom and her brother. And we hang out there for like a day or two, and then we drove out to Yosemite in her car, and we camped out there for like a week. It was still really snowy.
Just you and her?
Yeah.
Right on.
It was still really snowy, so we just kind of found a meadow, that was like off the trail far enough that we didn't think any rangers would be able to see us, because we certainly didn't buy a permit or a camping spot or any of that shit. But we figured the park was so low traffic at that point that like it didn't really fucking matter. And sure enough, it didn't. And I brought a tackle box filled with different kinds of weed and also like some mugwort and mullein and sage and like fucking strawberry leaf and peppermint and a big bag of tobacco, because at that point in my life I wasn't really a smoker of cigarettes, but I really liked a good spliff.
Yeah.
To the point where I wasn't just rolling up weed. I had this whole regimen of herbs that I would also roll up with it.
Nice.
To facilitate the smoking process and add flavoring. And the sage like really cut back on the harshness of the tobacco.
Yeah.
And the mullein and mugwort are good for your lungs. The strawberry leaf adds flavor, etc.
Yeah.
I had this whole blend thing that I was doing.
Yeah.
And I was real into it. And like Jessica even talked about this afterwards. Like, I would get up in the morning and roll a joint the size of a cigar. Like as thick as my fucking thumb,
Yeah.
like just a fucking hooter. And I mean, I don't know how much weed was in it, but I mean, we're talking had to be close to 50%, if not way more,
Yeah.
So like that is a decent sized joint for anyone of any constitution.
Yeah.
And
but then mixed with all your like blends,
yeah,
your little
like,
herbal blends, and
tobacco and stuff, and so we'd get up and we'd smoke one of these, and like if we didn't just immediately take a nap afterwards, it was due to sheer force of will. And we did a little bit of hiking, and like we bought a bunch of rad snack food in the fucking lodge, and we just did a lot of like sharing stories and sitting around the campfire and like watching meteors, and
That's awesome.
it was fucking magical. Like
Now, did you fall into romantic?
I don't remember if it was the second night or the third night, because it almost happened the first night.
I mean, I was gonna say like y'all are alone. It's clear you have like this connection.
Yeah,
and, like,
but she was like trying to make it weird, like like, oh, I'm kind of seeing this other guy and stuff, and I just don't really know her. Like I'm pretty sure she was like just trying to get me to be like, no, I'm really into you.
Yeah.
But I was like such a free spirit that I was just like, oh, that's cool, whatever. Like, I'm not trying to chain you down. And so like it took a minute for us to just be like, no, let's fucking bone, but
Yeah.
we got there.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine you did. I just was curious. Yeah, because it's like you don't just go out to the fucking
You
woods
certainly don't.
for a week with someone you've been writing letters and sending mixtapes to.
Yeah,
just like
exactly.
I mean, this is fucking. This is like a movie story, right?
Yeah,
here.
exactly.
Like, yeah.
And part of this is on me for like just never being confident enough to make the first move.
Yeah.
In fucking anything.
How many like relationships had you been in from? I mean, I guess like at this point it's like high school relationships.
Yeah,
if any.
I mean it's and like in college too for a few months.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was not like dozens, but
yeah, totally.
Certainly, like.
So you're still pretty green to the whole thing.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, absolutely, very, very green. Especially, you know, at 19 compared to 24. Like,
yeah,
there were some pretty huge, like, gaps in my experience. And so that was kind of a stumbling block at first, but you know, fuck it, dude. You're two people in a tent out in the woods.
Right. Figure it out.
Yeah. Which we did. And it was great. You know, it was a lot of fun. And, you know, eventually we came back into town and she was like, so what are you doing now? And I'm like, oh.
I'm like, well, I thought I was going to Arizona with you,
well,
right?
Aren't we going to go to the gathering? And she's like, dude, that's not really a thing for a while. And I'm like, oh, because you said you wanted to do this before we go to the gathering. Well, yeah, I mean, it's before we go to the gathering.
In the timeline of things.
I just, you know, I kind of figured you were going to go back to Oregon because, I mean, it's the gathering's not really in California, it's in Arizona. And I'm like, well, California's kind of on the way to Arizona. And she's like, well, I mean, you're not wrong, but I don't really have my own place, as you can see. I'm staying with my family.
Yeah.
And now this is becoming awkward. And I'm like, okay, well, you know, if this isn't going to work out, like, I can head back to Oregon and figure something out, but, like, I don't really know how I'm going to get to Arizona because I don't really know anybody who's going there apart from you. So,
yeah.
If there's any way that I can stay here and just go to Arizona with you, that would be pretty dope. And long story short, that's what happened. You know, I managed to charm her family enough that they were like, you know what, that's cool.
Yeah?
You can stay with us. Like, it was her mom and her brother, and her brother has a son who was at that time 4 years old. And so, not an ideal living environment, but, you know, fuck it. It's for a couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. And so...
That's all you had to kill was a couple of weeks.
As if memory serves, that's all that it was.
Yeah.
Because I really can't imagine everybody being on board for more than that.
Sure.
And, like, we were there for more than a month. So... for that to be true, it would have had to have been, yeah, because we went to Yosemite towards the end of May. So yeah, that's exactly what it was. It was like a couple of weeks, and so come to find out, I you know, for those who were really fucking taking notes, when I first hung out with Jessica at tea time in Oregon, she was hanging out with another dude, and he was basically only partially part of our conversation. Like, he'd chime in every now and then when, like, he thought something was cool. Right. But for the most part, he was just kind of like a lump on the log, which I found out much later was because he was also, like, sober that night. Completely by choice. Like, he did not want any part of that crazy fucking witch's brew.
Okay.
Which is to his credit, you know. But he was like, cool, you want to do that? That's fine. And so he was kind of like hanging out with Jessica all night while she was tripping face and, like, you know, having this crazy ass conversation with some rando.
Right.
That went on for hours, you know.
Uncomfortable, probably.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, at the time I had no idea. Like, he was just some other guy who was at the campfire that I kind of, like, just subconsciously understood was, like, involved with her somehow, but, like, nothing was obvious. And,
yeah.
You know, we were all kind of just riding the waves of weirdness that night. So anyway, come to find out, that guy's her ex-boyfriend. And his name is Todd, and he is a software developer in San Jose, which, you know, Silicon Valley. Mm-hmm. And he is going to drive Jessica to Arizona. He was not aware that I was going to be coming along.
Weird.
No, that's not true. I'm pretty sure in fact, she had to get permission from him, just being like, hey, remember this guy?
Right.
Well, I want him to come to Arizona with us.
And he was going to come to Arizona too?
He was driving her to Arizona.
But not just, and was going to hang out too.
Yeah. Like, and, you know, none of this was clear to me at the time, but, like, there was still, like, some tension there. Like, they'd been broken up for a while, but apparently there'd been this kind of, like, reconnection stuff.
Sure.
And, like, he'd been helping her out.
And they're trying to, like, stay friends or whatever.
Yeah, you know, and so, you know, I think in his mind, like, part of them going to the Rainbow Gathering was going to be some reconnection, you know, and finding out that this rando that she'd hooked up with, or not hooked up with, but, you know, connected with, at the Oregon Gathering was just magically going to be coming along, I'm sure was not his first choice.
Yeah, probably not.
But to his credit, he was like, you know what, fuck it. I'm not your boyfriend anymore, and I promised you that I would take you to the Rainbow Gathering, and I'm not going to go back on my promise, so
let's go.
Fine. And we went, and man, I got to tell you, like, of all the people, well, I shouldn't say it like that. But I got to give a shout out to Todd. Like, dude definitely has his moments like we all do, but at the end of the day, he fucking held up on a promise that most dudes wouldn't keep.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, we broke up. That means I'm not fucking taking
like, I don't know you anything
anymore.
Let alone taking your new boyfriend.
Let alone taking your new boyfriend and feeding him my drugs.
Yeah, right?
Dude had some sick drugs and he brought them with us. And, you know, we were out there for a goddamn month.
Wow.
Yeah.
All three of you?
Well, fuck. Now my memory's become murky because I don't think Todd was out there for a goddamn month.
Seems unlikely.
No, okay. Thank you. Yeah, sorry. Dude, it's been 20 years. So
yeah, right?
So no, in fact, that's right. We got back into SAC, and she introduced me to another dude that she'd kind of been seeing, whose name was Cody. And, like, she wasn't really sure if it was him or me, kind of a deal. And so, like, we all hung out a few times, and, like, you know, to Cody's credit, he was pretty chill about the whole, like, you've been fucking my girl kind of thing, you know.
Sure.
And was just like, you know, if I get another crack at it, then, you know, but otherwise, like, you seem cool kind of a deal, you know.
Yeah.
And so we went to a couple of drum circles, and, like,
well, and, like, you know, not that how do I phrase this, not to just sort of, like, pigeonhole certain people, but Rainbow kids are, like, pretty free love, right? So there's at least
ostensibly, yeah, absolutely.
There's at least some amount of there's a looser sort of monogamous
there's no
thing going
on. Not
on.
necessarily any implied monogamy.
Yeah, there you go. That's
know,
the
like,
way to phrase it.
Monogamy is certainly a facet of many relationships in that community.
Of course.
But it's never implied necessarily just because you hooked up. Like,
right. And it's not to say the wildest of hippies don't practice strict monogamy, because plenty
absolutely.
do.
For sure.
You know.
But, I mean, it's, you know, fucking free love is definitely a concept that still exists, you know?
Yeah,
and
for sure.
That was certainly something that we were aware of. So, you know, Jessica lets Cody know that I'm planning on going to the gathering, and Cody's like, well, I still want to go. And she was like, are you cool with that? And I'm like, fucking the more the merrier. Like,
yeah.
You know, you guys were already planning on going together.
You're kind of along for this ride at this point,
right.
Anyway.
Well, and I just show up going like, oh, you said we were going to the gathering together. And she's like, that's not really what I said. You know, so I'm just kind of like, I'm not trying to fuck up your plans. Like, this is already like this fucking storybook bullshit that I could never have fucking imagined.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to see where this goes, you know?
Yeah.
And so we're also hanging out with Jessica's brother, who is a big time fucking gamer. And he gets me into playing Armored Core on 2 separate PS1s on 2 separate TVs.
Nice.
So that we can really fucking deathmatch. Oh, so great. And he's also got a team of fucking dudes that they play D&D with, and they've also got kind of a LARPing team where they're playing with boffer swords and like actually trying to learn how to sword fight. Now, as you may be aware, I took fencing in high school.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And once I saw these fools dancing around with boffer swords and like trying to like yell out rules calls while they're like fighting and stuff, I was like, man, fuck y'all. I'm gonna show you how to sword fight.
Yeah.
And so I just start getting aggressive and like smacking fools who are letting their guards down. And they're like, oh, but you know, like, hey. And I'm like, are we fucking sword fighting or what? Like, if I get a shot in on you, it means that your guard was down. Like,
yeah.
We good? And they're like, oh, it's on now.
Right.
Like, really helped them step up their game a little bit. And they had a friend named Stan from San Jose. He grew up in a really bad neighborhood, had been in and out of jail for a lot of his life. You know, he's a brown-skinned person who never... I don't know. He's a smart kid, and he never really got a shot, you know?
Yeah.
And, like, I feel like it's a fucking miracle that he found this group of kids. And, like, I have no idea how they convinced him to start playing D&D with them, because, like... Dude
was not the kind of guy you'd expect to be at the fucking table.
Dude was a fucking dyed-in-the-wool G. Like, he was hustling the fucking pool tables down at the bowling alley until the cops asked him to leave. You know, like, I don't know, man. Like, it baffles me to this day that Stan was hanging out with those kids.
And then he's back, and then suddenly he's just like, not 20 homes.
You know, like, yeah, and like, fucking Jessica put on Assassins by Sondheim, the musical. And it's, you know, Lincoln gets shot at some point during the musical, and it's an actual gunshot. Like, they shoot a gun in the theater.
Yeah.
And it's a really high quality recording. And fucking Stan hit the deck when that shit went off, and like, he just had this fucking dazed look on his face, like, what the fuck just happened? And we're like, it was the musical, and he's like, I just blacked out for a minute. Like, holy shit! Like, don't fucking play that again. We're like, all right. Dude is traumatized by gunshots. Good to know.
Yeah. Wow.
So anyway,
what a ragtag bunch,
right? And you know, we're all hanging out, and then, you know, it comes up that we're gonna go do this thing in Arizona, and Stan's like, "What's this all about?" And, you know, we kind of tell him about the Rainbow Gathering, and he's like, "So you mean to tell me that this is like 30,000 people all getting together out in the forest just to hang out and have a good time?" And we're like, yeah. And he's like, how come nobody has to go to the hospital? Or, like, how come nobody gets arrested? And we're like, I know, right?
Yeah, right. Asking the real questions there.
and we're like, you know, I mean, accidents happen, but for the most part, it's just super chill. And he's like, I don't believe you. And we're like, I know, right? And he's like, well, fuck it. I got gas money. You guys got another seat? And we're like, what the fuck? What in the actual fuck? This kid wants to go to the Rainbow Gathering?
Yeah.
And it's like, fuck it.
Sweet.
Sure, Stan. Like, why not? We literally only have 3 people, and it's a 4.5 seat car. You know, it's a fucking Nissan Sentra. Like, let's make it happen.
So wait, so the Scooby Gang thus far then is you, Jessica, Todd, and Stan?
So Todd isn't actually in the picture just yet. Okay. Like, I find out about... I might be tertially aware of Todd, but I don't necessarily know that he's going to be at the Rainbow Gathering.
Okay.
It's just me, Jessica, Stan, and Cody.
Oh, and Cody, right, okay.
Oh, and Cody is actually the guy who turned me on to Zyrika.
Hell yeah.
So we were at a drum circle in a parking garage in Sacramento, and we were like walking down the corkscrew through all the levels, and I'm like, oh, it's crazy how like you get all these sound artifacts in the weird corners of the building from all the fucking drum circles. They kind of sync up in weird places. And he's like, dude, have you ever heard Zyrika? And I'm like, no, what's that? And he's like, do you know the Flaming Lips? And I'm like, fuck yeah, I know the Flaming Lips. And he's like, so back when they were like in college, they would make music and they would play it on their car stereos, and they would drive around these parking garages and like make these weird audio pastiches from like the way that their systems matched up. And I'm like, that's amazing. And he's like, yeah, so they made an album that's like 4 discs that you're meant to play together. And I'm like, ah!
Yeah. Well, and then that's the precursor to Zyrika, was they took a lot of those tracks that later became Zyrika tracks and did they did 1 or 2 parking lot experiments where basically they handed people boom boxes and then handed CDs to people in cars, and then Wayne walked around like a parking garage with like a microphone, and just like recorded kind of like everything that was going on, but had, it was like 50 simultaneous tracks playing all at once, but spread out over multiple levels of a parking garage.
Yes.
And that was the precursor. Yeah. And so like, what you were talking about was like even the precursor to that, but right before they did Zyrika, they did these parking lot experiments, which were fascinating to read about. And and then they kind of like, distilled that down into Zyrika, which for the listener at home, it's a CD. It's a CD by the Flaming Lips that it's 4 CDs that have to be played simultaneously on 4 separate sound systems. And boy, oh boy, I have a whole episode about it. So we'll just put a pin in that.
Nice.
But I have an entire episode about Zyrika. So
I didn't know that I was footnoting future episodes. But there we are.
Yep, totally.
Nice. So like we got this ragtag crew, and like, I kind of couch Cody as being like, my competition, but that's not how I felt about him. Like,
sure,
I actually really dug that dude, and like, especially like after things kind of went south with me and Jessica, like I was like, man, I wonder whatever fucking happened to that guy.
Yeah,
he was cool as fuck. But yeah, so we're all in this fucking car. We drove through Phoenix when it was 120 degrees.
I've done that,
and we had no air conditioning.
I've done exactly that.
And that was when I really learned how heat can affect your consciousness.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah.
It was fine as long as we were going at least 60. There's some spots on the freeway in Phoenix. Oh no, it's just traffic. No, I'm like, where you have to stop. No, you don't have to stop.
No, it's just traffic.
It's because of traffic. Yeah, so like, we got stopped by gridlock, and like my fucking vision starts swimming, and I'm just like, Jesus, do we have any fucking water in here? This is bad.
Wait. I want to get back to the Scooby Gang real quick. Yeah. So it's you, Cody, Todd.
No, Todd comes later.
Todd comes later.
Yeah, it's Stan, Cody, me, and Jessica.
Okay. So Todd didn't end up driving you guys.
He did not. We ended up driving in... Okay, so I should actually tell you about this Nissan Sentra. Jessica referred to it as the Starship Rocinante.
No way!
Yes.
Damn! Expanse fans.
Saying, dude. Well, and this is way before The Expanse.
Yeah.
And so you know what Rocinante is named for.
Yeah, right? Of course, yeah.
Don Quixote's horse.
Right.
So, I mean, like, when I finally read The Expanse, I was just like...
Yeah!
God fucking damn it!
Right.
Oh, it's so good. And so we drove there in the Starship Rocinante, and fucking through the Phoenix heat, and we just had the most minimal amount of shit, like some tents and sleeping bags and trail mix and like a couple of canteens, but like we were all so fucking broke.
Y'all are just winging it though.
Yeah, we had a little bit of weed and maybe some mushrooms,
but once you get to the gathering, you're taken care of.
Exactly. And that's kind of what we were thinking, like, fuck it, like let's just get out there and be for a while. Mm-hmm. And So we got there, and it was real early seed camp, like, first week in June, I want to say. And so, there's like maybe a couple thousand people out there, if that. And it's just, people blazing trails and like figuring out where the dry wood is and tapping springs and that kind of thing. And so we end up at this kitchen. I can't for the life of me remember what they were calling themselves, but it was one of the first kitchens that was out there. It was just kind of off the beaten path, and we were like, cool, let's set up here. Like, I'm pretty sure Tea Time wasn't out there yet, or if they were, we just hadn't found them. And so we were like, there's a fire, there's a kitchen, there's a meadow, let's fucking pitch some tents, we'll get our bearings later. And so we camped out there that night and like had a great meal, like shared some smoke, had some laughs, crashed out that night. Next morning we get up, Stan's already gone. Like, we went and got some breakfast. I don't remember if we found Tea Time that day. I'm pretty sure we did. And like we struck out, we found Tea Time, we came back, figured that we were gonna just tell the boys that we were moving camp, but we couldn't find them. So we just kind of told the folks in the kitchen that, like, if they saw Cody or Stan, to let them know that we were headed to Tea Time. Mm-hmm. And we moved our camp. And I think once we got set up, we decided to go back to the first kitchen just to, like, see if we could find them. I don't remember if we found them that night or if it was the next day. I want to say it was the next day. Like, we went back, stayed the night, and then the next day we went down and had breakfast in the kitchen and, like, saw smoke or just heard from someone that there had been like a small forest fire off in like some other part of the forest, and we see Stan come tromping down the hill like fucking wild man, and he's just like, I fucking burned the laces out of my shoes fighting the fire. Whoa. And we're like, holy fuck, dude, are you okay? He's like, dude, I'm tripping sack right now. Like, what? He's like, yeah, I was fucking frying balls, and they were like, there's a forest fire. And I was like, well, I'm gonna fucking put it out.
Holy shit.
And so, like, he grabbed a bucket and filled it up with creek water and, like, threw it on the fire, and it didn't immediately go out. And so he, like, grabbed a shovel and started throwing dirt on it, and, like, it finally burned over to where his shoes were and, like, burned off of his laces, but he was still just, like, fucking stomping on it. And, like, eventually him and some other fucking rainbows got the fire put out. But
Jesus.
Yeah, like, Stan went full fucking Hulk on the fire.
That's crazy, man.
On acid, yeah.
So fucking lucky you just didn't die.
But, like, talk about, like, a rainbow gathering initiation. Like, your first fucking trip is, like, firefighter.
Yeah.
And, like, imagine your elation over, like, putting out a forest fire while on LSD.
I mean, that's pretty epic, for sure.
You know? And, like, I mean, I can't believe that it was a surprise to me later that Stan wanted to just go full rainbow. But, like,
yeah,
he was in from that moment forward.
Yeah.
Like, fuck this San Jose fucking wannabe gangster bullshit. Like,
yeah.
Drive-by can go fuck itself. I'm gonna have fun out here in the fucking woods, you know?
Yeah.
And we did not see Stan for weeks after that. Like,
he just went off.
He was just gone. And, you know, like, we saw Cody every now and then. Like, he stayed in the place where we were that first night. Like, he just put down roots there. And, you know, we said, you know, like, we're up at Tea Time, like, come camp with us. But I think he was kind of like,
yeah,
you've got this whole Jessica thing locked down.
He figured it out.
I got my mojo working down here. I'm good. You know? And totally respect him for that. Yeah, so up at Tea Time, we ended up doing a massive construction project. People were pulling lava rocks out of the woods and gathering up buckets of dirt and duff and water, and we were mixing the dirt and duff with a little bit of water and essentially making mortar. And putting that in between the rocks and building this big V-shaped rock wall with inserts in it for buckets for a wash station, like drawers and cabinets for food storage.
Whoa.
It was fucking elaborate. And it, like, each section in the V was about, I want to say 30 feet long, maybe even 40 feet.
Wow.
Like, it was a massive edifice that a bunch of fucking baked fucking hippies put together over the course of several afternoons.
Nice.
And once it was all set up, they erected a couple of tree trunks and stretched these enormous tarps between them, and just kind of had like, it was kind of like a teepee almost. Like, you've got the V rock wall in front, and then on the back there's two massive tarps that just kind of come up in a V and form this, this arc over the interior of the rock wall V and kind of form, the four walls.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they just kind of had a smoke flap up in the middle for the campfire.
There you go.
And we had this big fucking compound for tea time. It was
Damn.
It was fucking rad.
That's way cool.
Right? And, it took us a while to get everything built. And, like, after a couple of weeks of being there, that's when Todd showed up.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a bunch of mushrooms, and I don't remember if he had Molly at that point. I want to say it was just mushrooms and weed. And we ate a lot of mushrooms and smoked a lot of weed with Todd. It was pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, like, Todd is a really fucking smart dude, and he really likes They Might Be Giants, and he played Magic with me for the first time since Fallen Empires.
Nice.
He had a sliver deck.
Nice.
Right. And
yeah, I mean, Todd sounds like a cool dude.
yeah, like, I fucking miss Todd. I would love to fucking reconnect with him at some point. But yeah, so, and like, he was totally cool about the fact that, he had intended to just come out there and like have this reconnection with Jessica, and I was totally like not gonna let that happen.
Just like kibosh on that plan.
Yeah, and I mean, he was clearly bummed about it, but also wasn't being a
Sure.
dick to me. I mean,
No,
who
that's...
knows what happened between him and Jessica, and I know
Yeah.
there's some tension there.
Yeah.
But like, dude was rad as fuck with me. Like,
That's cool.
We had a great time, and I didn't bathe for like 2 or 3 weeks, and my hair started getting really weird. I put cocoa butter in it,
Yeah.
thinking that it was going to be the thing. To all the folks at home, if you have some really dirty hair, don't think that putting grease in it is going to make it better.
Yeah. Right?
Just saying. I took some, I think it was Dr. Boylan's, or not, God, not Dr. Boylan's. That's a soda. Yeah, just boil on up in the hairs, No, whatever the natural fucking hemp shit. Dr. Bronner's. Took some Dr. Bronner's down to the creek and slathered it all over my fucking melon and got all of those hairs unstuck.
Yeah.
It was wonderful. If you've never bathed in the creek after 3 weeks of not bathing, I highly recommend it.
Oh, it sounds great. Sounds great.
I don't recommend not bathing for 3 weeks just so that you can do it, but if you have the means,
Yeah.
go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so not a whole lot of like revolutionary shit that I can remember from like our trips out there, but like just so much good stuff, like a lot of really cool fun times, like seeing meteor showers and whatnot. And then the 4th of July rolls around.
Yeah.
And it's quiet time from dawn to noon on the 4th. And we did our best not to like fuck that up. You know, we would write messages to each other if we really couldn't communicate with gestures and looks and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And God, we must have eaten mushrooms or something that day. I honestly don't remember. Like, but we were tripping in some capacity, and we got down to the main circle, and they have this children's parade right before noon, and it's like just a bunch of the kids from the gathering who have been going to the main circle every day. Someone writes a song and they teach it to the kids, and they parade in singing this song, and they run around the circle a few times, and that's about enough time to get us right up to noon. And then when noon hits, everyone starts oming.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing about oming is that if you're just doing it by yourself, you're just making a noise, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it, you know, it might feel good, it might feel weird, it might not feel anything to you at that point in time. But if you're in a meadow with tens of thousands of other people who are all also making that sound,
yeah,
that's got to
be wild as fuck.
It creates some phenomenons that you might not otherwise experience.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
And it's not just people going, oh, there's also people who know how to do overtone singing, like tube and throat singing stuff.
Sure.
Going, oh, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that sound resonates in your lungs because there's so much of it around you, and it affects the sound that you're making. And it becomes this weird feedback loop where like you're making this sound that's affecting the sound that you're making. And I don't know, it's really cool.
I can only imagine. It sounds fucking cool as hell.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, we did that for like 10 minutes, maybe 15, maybe 20. I forget how long it lasts, but it's really fucking powerful. And after that, you know, everybody's partying, fucking drum circles, and there was even like a rave in the parking lot, I think, but honestly wasn't really the main event. Like there were drummers from Africa, like famous, like people who have recorded albums that have sold hundreds of thousands, if not millions of copies.
Wow.
Who are there just to be around all of these other talented drummers, and probably also to eat some mushrooms.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's cool as hell.
And so, I mean, like, you say what you will about hippie drum circles, you're probably right, but like, Jesus Christ, if you're at like the best fucking hippie drum circle.
Yeah.
It's
totally
gonna be pretty fucking awesome.
I mean, yeah, I've attended some very cool hippie drum circles and some very, you know, subpar hippie drum circles. Like,
I'm pretty sure just about everyone's been to a subpar hippie drum circle, but like, man, and you know, granted, I was also almost certainly high on psychedelics, but like some of the stuff that they were doing with rhythm that night, like.
Well, and that's the cool thing. So, like, the oming is actually similar to big drum circles, where it's very similar, where it's like you get all these people doing rhythms, and then they start syncopating in, like, weird ways.
Right.
And you start hearing, like, these different syncopations and the way the, like, beats hit each other and the way the different things hit each other. And yeah, it just, like, creates this thing that's kind of bigger than what it is. And, yeah, there's a fucking reason people do it. Like, it's fucking cool. Like, when you pull it off and when it works and when you're in that mode, like, it's fucking cool. Yep. Like, you create something that is bigger than it's just bigger than you think that it could be, you know? It's beyond just our base human level. I don't know.
No, I agree.
It's wild.
In the words of Douglas Adams, just bang the rocks together, guys.
Indeed.
Yeah, so, you know, that was the first, like, real deal fucking Rainbow Gathering 4th that I ever got, and it was fucking spectacular.
Hell yeah.
And so, you know, I'm pretty sure, like, we just coasted the 5th, maybe even the 6th and the 7th, but, like, you know, a few days after the 4th, everybody's fucking splitting out of there, like, you know.
That's the highlight. Yeah, that's the main attraction.
The climax is over. Yeah. It's time to start wandering off, and, you know, we were like, I mean, we're done here. Like, let's figure our shit out, and we'll make our way back to Sacramento.
Making an exit plan.
You know, and so we made it back down to the original meadow, and like, you know, maybe not the first day, but like the second or third day, we bumped into Cody, and it was like, hey, we're thinking about getting out of here. Like, do you still want to cruise back with us? And I'm pretty sure the answer was yes. Like, he hadn't found some alternative mode that he was interested in pursuing, and I want to say that we just never saw Stan. Like, I'm pretty goddamn sure that, like, we kind of put out feelers at a lot of different kitchens.
Like, hey, anyone seen
like,
this
you know,
guy?
we know that he was around here.
He doesn't have shoelaces.
Like, this point, like, you know, does he match anyone matching this description? They're like, not really, no. And so, like, you know, the woman who was kind of like our contact at that first kitchen, who was just like this lady who'd been there the whole time, was just like, yeah, after that day that Stan showed up here with burnt shoelaces, like, we never saw him down here again. And Cody was like, yeah, I fucking haven't bumped into him. And we were like, damn, I hope he's okay. You know, like, we can't really stick around any longer.
Right.
And so we bailed. And, you know, I'm like, this timeline is going to continue, but just so all our listeners at home know, I don't exactly remember when, but at some point, while I was still hanging out with Jessica, Stan fucking blew back through from fucking Alaska. And he had all of his dreadlocks tucked up into a big hat.
Yeah.
He was driving a big fucking school bus with a bunch of hippie mamas on it. And they're headed for Guatemala.
Yes, this is exactly how I imagine this story. It's just like, this dude got out of his shitty situation and just like found a thing and just embraced it hard.
Yep. He was like, free love? I got tons of fucking love.
Well, and also like an environment that's not, like this dude's having like reactions to hearing gunshots. Like, he's like, oh, this is the opposite of that. This is my way out of that life.
Yeah, well, and you know, he was just in tons of systems. Like, he had tons of priors and like bench warrants and shit.
Totally.
He was just trying to lay low.
Damn.
What better way to lay low than out in the fucking woods, you know? Like,
no, sounds great. Sounds like he found his calling.
Yeah, and so, you know, like, we compared notes with him, and he was just like, yeah, you know, I was trying to find a way to, like, find you guys again, but I just spun way the fuck out, and, like, eventually landed in this rad spot with these awesome folks who were like, hey, you're cool.
Yeah.
Want to come with us?
Yeah.
And I never looked back.
Perfect.
And we were like, dude, that is exactly what we had imagined for you, but we by no means wanted to, like, push that on you.
Yeah.
So it's so fucking cool that you just fell into it. He was like, all it took was fucking helping those guys fight that fire, and, like, I knew that I was in a place where I belonged. And I'm like,
damn,
holy shit,
that's
dude.
cool as hell.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I you know, I'm sure he's still out there fighting the good fight.
Yeah, I imagine he is.
So yeah, we round up Cody, we head back to Sacramento, and it's kind of this whole, like, so what are you gonna do? And I was kind of like, I don't know. I really like you. What are you gonna do?
Well, you were out there for a month?
At least, yeah.
So you had a whole month of bonding and...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, this is essentially like a month and a half that we've been living in a tent together with a little bit of time crashing out on the floor at her fucking family's place.
Right.
And so, like, we land back in Sacramento and we're at Will and Karen's house. Will's her brother, Karen's her mom. And it's like, I don't really know what I want to do. I don't have a job to go back to. Like, I mean, I could always just go back to Bend, but I think you're pretty cool, and I would love to see where this goes.
Yeah.
And she's like, all right, well, I mean, we could just, like, try to figure this out. Like, we'll get some fucking jobs or whatever, and, like, make some money and fucking go do something. And I'm like, yeah, like, we keep hearing all this stuff about Maui. Like,
yeah,
you want to go hang out in Maui? And she's like, I don't know. I mean, that sounds pretty cool. Like, literally every person that we've talked to about this place talks about it like it's some magical fucking land of opportunities. So, yeah. I mean, I want to go see what it's all about. And it's like, all right, well, let's do that. Oh,
there are way worse plans than, like, let's just go to fucking Maui.
And I'm like, oh, by the way, like, I've got this buddy who's, like, throwing these raves in San Francisco. Like, we could go check that out. And as you know from the raves episode, my buddy Spencer was in San Francisco throwing raves while I was living in Sacramento. So
right.
This just kind of dovetails right into that whole sequence.
Right.
And, we'll get to some of that, but I think we're going a little long in the tooth here. So, like, this is volume 1 of the Rainbow Gatherings, and it will also be, a little bit more detail on the San Francisco part of the Raves episode when we get to volume 2 of the Rainbow Gathering, because that's going to be kind of the backstory.
All right, so
when we go to Pennsylvania Gathering.
Okay, yeah, just a little precursor. So this was not the last Rainbow Gathering you went to.
Oh God, no. This is this was the second of 3.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah. No, wait, no. This was the second of 4. Yeah. So we're about halfway.
Okay.
We're about halfway
hell
here.
Yeah. Man, no, this is fascinating to me. Because, Rainbow Gathering, all of these things. Rainbow Gathering, Burning Man.
Well, we're going to get some Burning Man thrown in, too.
You've been to Burning Man
twice.
Yeah. Hell yeah, man. See, this is all stuff that I never did. It was all stuff that I kind of looked at from afar and was like, yeah, this seems all right. But I never, like, had the fucking stones to just throw down and just like, okay, yeah, I'm just gonna go do this or whatever.
I feel really lucky that I had the experience that I did. I feel like my rainbow experience was kind of liminal compared to, like, what other people have experienced, because I chose Tea Time as my kitchen, which is one of the fucking weirder kitchens of the gathering. Like, Jaw Love, just a straight ahead, like, fucking dyed in the wool, like, rainbow fucking love fucking kitchen. Like, they're just serving vegan meals for the people. That's what they're about. Tea Time, like, those motherfuckers, they got booze stashed away. Like, one of those motherfuckers had an Uzi. Like, I'm just saying, like, there's some shady shit going on, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, I'm just saying, like, Tea Time was sort of like the gentleman criminal kind of fucking rainbow hangout.
I like it.
Like,
I feel like that's probably where I would have ended up too. So
I'm just saying, like, the originator apparently had an engine block that he put a fucking trombone mouthpiece on and a bell on the end, and was like playing it like a fucking woodwind to get people to come hang out at the original Tea Time.
Damn.
So, like, there's some lineage there of just straight fucking weirdness. And I'm happy that's where I gravitated to, Like,
hell yeah.
There's plenty of other fringe kitchens that I would have loved, like Carnivore Kitchens, where I ate my first boar.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I had some wild boar stew that blew my goddamn mind. And like let's just take a minute to appreciate Carnivore Kitchen, because they're the only kitchen at the Rainbow Gathering that is allowed to serve meat.
Interesting.
Now, I can neither confirm nor deny allegations that Tea Time might have also fucking cooked some hot dogs at some point, but
sure. I mean, look,
people
gotta eat, dude.
They certainly claimed they were vegan.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure I know the difference. But I'm just saying, like, I fucking love and miss the Rainbow Gathering. I don't know necessarily that it's something that I'm going to go back to, but I flirt with the idea a lot.
So, yeah, are Rainbow Gatherings still happening?
100%. They are as strong, if not stronger than ever.
Are they as cool as they used to be?
No clue.
Yeah,
I would imagine. So here's what
I know that
imagine.
Burning Man's not as cool as it used to be.
Sure, but Burning Man has always been kind of driven by excess, whereas
That's true.
The Rainbow Gathering has always had some very clear codification in place. And I feel like maybe I'm pigeonholing modern generations too much, but I really feel like the millennial generation would have just picked that shit up and ran with it. You know, like, there's still going to be alcoholism, opiates abuse, meth addiction, just like there always was. But god damn it, like, the whole DIY mindset is just fucking strong these days. And like, that's what the Rainbow Gathering was all about.
No. It's not even really the interest in the Rainbow Gathering. I'm just curious if, like, feds and otherwise have more or less, like, shut it down or neutered it.
What can they do? They don't have the manpower to fucking get all those hippies out of the woods.
Yeah, that's totally true.
Like,
that's
come
totally
on.
True.
Without the National Guard, there is nothing that they can do. I'm fucking serious.
I mean, no, you're right. Like, you can't fuck with that many people.
Like, especially that far out. You know, like, in the city, cops, you know, whatever. But, like, we're talking about way the fuck out in the national forest. Like, you got forest rangers.
Right. Well, they're not doing anything that weird. There's not, like, weapon stockpiling going on.
And that was the whole thing. Like,
stuff, so.
You know, the forest rangers did a regular tour every fucking day of different parts of the gathering, because they certainly couldn't do the whole fucking thing in one day. And like, I almost always saw them when I was at Trade Circle, which is exactly what it sounds like. Big meadow with people with blankets with shit that they want to trade.
Right.
And there's this classic story of the guy who fucking traded a Snickers bar for a VW bus by just trading up every fucking time.
Yeah, right?
You know, like, he started the gathering with just a fucking candy bar and he left with his own fucking van.
Well, there's the non-rainbow story of the guy who started with a paperclip and got a house.
Right.
So,
well, and then,
you know, it took him 10 years or whatever.
There's the fucking Power 9 story too, you know?
Like, right. Listener at home, that's a Magic the Gathering thing. But yeah, totally. Bartering is wild.
Damn straight. But I'm just saying, like, you know, we'd see the fucking forest rangers almost every day at Trade Circle.
Sure.
And there was almost always somebody, like, at least 50 yards ahead of them on the trail going, 6 up! You know?
Yeah.
And there was one time where there was a guy, and this was at the Oregon Gathering. I don't remember what he did, but the Rangers had a warrant or something, and they were like, this is the guy that we want. And I don't remember why they wanted him, but he eventually surrendered himself fully naked. And so they determined that he would serve some time in the, like, little local jail or whatever, and that they would release him back to the gathering with his belongings, which was nothing. Right? So they had to return him naked to the gathering.
Just like, here's your empty plastic bag.
Right. And I don't think they had any identification for this guy. Like, they had just seen him, like, committing a crime, like, you know, like smoking weed or something like that. And they were just like, we know what he looks like. He's right here. And, like, dude was like, I'm naked now. What are you going to do? And they were like, well, we're going to take you with us. He's like, I don't have any identification. I'm not going to tell you who the fuck I am. Like, and like the really cool thing too, if the cops ever try to arrest anyone, like people will just fucking form a swarm around them, and like just form a wall of bodies so the cops can't actually get to them.
Yeah,
I don't know. There's some pretty interesting, weird like mass crowd techniques that they've developed out there for resisting arrest and shit like that.
Yeah, that's wild. And I mean, I guess there's just sort of an acceptance to like, as long as you're doing it out in the woods, you know, like, fuck. What?
Well, that's the thing. If you're fucking smoking a bowl out on a fucking trail in the woods,
guess we'd rather all those damn hippies be out in the woods than on our streets.
Well, and that's the thing, is like all the fucking towns that are next to the national forest, it's a real mixed bag how they get treated. And I mean, I'm not trying to defend the Rainbow Gathering as far as this is concerned, because like campers will fuck up some of those little tiny towns.
Right.
But by the same token, there's 30,000 people going through there and buying gas.
Yeah.
And buying groceries and fucking, taking showers in the fucking truck stop and shit. So like, yeah, I mean, it sucks that some fucking drainbows are ripping off the fucking corner store. Yeah. But at the end of the day, they're making so much more money than they would have if the Rainbow Gathering hadn't blown through that town, that it certainly all comes out in the wash.
Yeah. No, it's pretty wild, man. All right, so yeah, we're running out of time here, so I think we just call it here.
Yeah, well, we're about halfway. Volume 1.
Yeah, maybe we just straight up 2-part this one. I just put them out back to back.
I'm really hoping that I can fucking jam out the rest in another episode. I'm pretty sure that I can.
Hell, maybe we just like 3-part this one if it comes to it.
If that's what it comes down to, that's fine. I'm trying the best that I can to like keep it focused on the Rainbow Gathering and not all the other shit that was happening in my life at the time. Because
but then I have all these questions.
But that's why I'm like leaving this shit open, is so that you can pull the taffy on some of this stuff. Because like, this was one of the wildest times in my life.
Oh, I mean, that's why, like, literally we could do 6 episodes on this, and this is fascinating to me. And this is also a time in your life that you haven't devolved much to me, so I'm really interested to hear all this stuff.
I mean, it's like I was saying earlier, I've known this whole time that these stories were something that I was going to be getting to, but like, there's some conflicted emotions here just because of like how shit ended with me and Jessica that like makes it kind of hard to talk about.
I totally hear that, and I appreciate the hell out of you for like telling some of these stories. Also, makes for fucking great radio, dude. So people want to hear that.
Thank you. And it's like I said, I always
knew, or they don't. I have no idea. Like listeners at home are like, fucking 2 hours. They're like, no, I actually don't want to hear it.
All that happened was some guy's shoelaces caught on fire.
Like, wait a second, I'm 2 hours in and nothing fucking happened. But like a lot of shit happened. No, it was
fair enough.
It was cool.
Well, I tell you what, if we listen to it again and nothing really happened, like, we'll just take another run at it. But,
I don't give a fuck, dude. This is good, man. We already got their money, dude.
Unsubscribe.